Let it do what it do. Okay. Um. So I was thinking about what I was talking about last night with Gam and these digital comic books, and then it brought me to what I actually want to do. So, ooh, damn, it's hot. Yeah, look at that. You see that? 1 second. Look at that. See how? Oh, you can't see it. So what I actually want to do is and I want to partner with Adobe to get this done. What I want to create is an Adobe CBF. Okay, so for what I'm talking about doing with these comic books, it's going to be a comic book format. Um, you have a master key holder, and the rest of them, you know, that goes out when people purchase these CBF comic book formats, right? It's like an Adobe PDF, but it's an Adobe CBF. So so what I want to do is I wanted to first thing is on the Adobe CBF, I want social media icons on the front and back of the CBF. Okay, so it'll have the Instagram logo, the X logo, the Facebook logo, things of that nature. So when they click it, they automatically go to their fan pages and all of that. Okay. Um, the second thing I want for it to do is the master copy, which is the creator, right, has automatic revisional updates. So they can update the story if there's changes in the story. Let's just say, for instance, sometimes they have like that they'll release this comic book, and then all of a sudden they put out another one for whatever reason. Maybe it's some lawsuit, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Okay, so I want automatic revisional updates interlinked with the master copy. So you have the master copy, and you have the other ones that follow suit of the master copy. So the master copy is the post, the active post. 1 second. Um, I also wanted to. I also wanted to. I also wanted to be able to store videos, playable videos, things like that. But I wanted to. Let's just say, for instance, like a person purchases a CBF for $2, right? $3, $4, $5, whatever. Okay. I also wanted to be able to play on screen, like if they hit the zoom out button, right, instead of reading it, it now switches from reading to story to story mode. Okay, so depending on how you're viewing the CBF dictates how it interacts with you. So if I'm a reader and I purchase the CBF and I click it and I'm reading the comic book, I'm reading the CBF, right? Go to the next page, next page, next page, next page. unless I click the audio link, right, it will not play audio. However, if it's recreate the same scene, if I'm reading it and I expand it, right, or I click, yeah, if I'm reading it and I expand it to where, you know how like you watching a YouTube video and the YouTube is right there, and then something and it takes the whole screen. If I expand it, it now goes into storyline PowerPoint mode, right? So the save narration of the CBF is now triggered to where now it goes into storyline mode. All I see is the big picture, and then it goes to the next scene, next scene, so on, to where you can digest an entire comic book at the speed of your leisure. I think this is gonna. I know that this is going to be an anchor for the Adobe brand in the creative space. Okay, and there's no better way than entertainment and comic books. And so all of my GAM comic books will be CBF files. One second. I want these CBF files to serve as almost like an active web link, because what if I'm creating this CBF, right? And I want a place that's outside of the normal territories, the social media territories for for communication, feedback, right? A place that I can use to not only engage with CBF users of the specific what's the word I'm looking for? CBF users of the specific domain, right? So let's just say the Taco Man, okay? The Taco Man, right? Say I got a CBF on the Taco Man. It's the Taco Man. Okay. I got the social media links. When I say links, I'm not talking about URLs. I'm talking about the classical logos like on a website. Click that logo, it sends you the Facebook fan page. Click that logo, it sends you the X page. Click that logo, it sends you to the YouTube channel. You feel what I'm saying? So now on the CBF itself, it has to connect to a domain that would allow it to have like almost like a you have your main, right, which would just it'd just be a collage of CBF creator users, right? So let's say for instance you have a website. Let's say uh, CBF creator economy, right? Okay, so then you have all these creators who's using these CBF accounts, right, to push the contents of entertainment, right? Let's just stick on the comic book for right now, okay? We're not gonna let's not focus on business and everything else. Let's just stick on comic book for right now, okay? So you have all these people who's creating these digital comic books using CBF, Adobe CBF, right? Okay, I'm trying to keep each individual CBF user as an interconnected island, enough to create its own algorithms on the CBF. So it's almost like it is a web page, almost. So my goal would be, let's just say, the person is watching, listening to the audio because he don't want to read, she don't want to read it, whatever the case. It gets down to the end, boom, it goes to the next what you call it, and it can be like a chat box. It can be uh an AI chat box that CBF users could use to control their fan pages. Um, a AI chat box that posts questions about the comic book that was published. So now these AI chat boxes, if we got, let's just say for instance, 500 people using CV, 50,000, 100,000, whatever, people that use CBF to sell their comic books and develop their audience. Let's say they scroll up. I'm just talking about a nice little box like this. They can expand it, right? But let's just say they scroll up, and then here goes another box for the Crystals, and another box for Carpet Man, and another box for Evil Vengeance, another box for Dead Raider. You know what I'm saying? And it still allows people to interact with the content that is on CBF. One second. Has narrated audio. Just load up a little bit. CBF has auto narrated audio when expanded. It flows smoothly like a PowerPoint. Um, Clickable icon links, clickable icon directories, directories, clickable icon directories. Where desired. Um, what else? Clickable icon directories. What else I say? Um, AI agent chat boxes per CBF that automates questions that can be used to automate social media posts. Um, Also, video integration, video integration, insertions where desired with automatic playback upon arrival. Yeah, automatic playback upon arrival. So it only plays once if they're on there, and the video plays once if you want the video there, and it automatic play upon arrival. So it don't just sit there and continuously loop like back in the days. Everybody used to take advantage of that on certain social media sites. It just replay and replay and replay. What else? Um, each individual CBF serves as a subsidiary profile to the main system. Right. So if I purchase a CBF, right, because I purchased this CBF, I now have access to the entire network of the universe that's within CBF through my one CBF. So this CBF actually serves as a profile. Right. So if a user purchases a CBF, that user gets access to the entire network of CBF content free content and paid and premium content. Yeah, right. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, interactive comic. Okay, Adobe CBF, the Interactive Comic Publishing Network. That's what I'm talking about. Exactly. So I'm creating like not just it's not a PDF. It's becoming a Netflix meet YouTube meet Spotify meet Kindle meet Discord for comics, where every comic is both a publication and an interactive portal into a larger creative network. Exactly. Let me hear this. Your concept has evolved beyond a file format into a complete interactive publishing ecosystem. Here's how it could be described as a platform vision. Adobe CBF, the Interactive Comic Publishing Network. Adobe CBF comic book format is a cloud-connected interactive publishing platform that transforms digital comics into living multimedia experiences. Right. Every CBF functions as both a digital publication and a connected profile within the larger CBF ecosystem, allowing readers to move seamlessly between stories, creators, communities, and exclusive content. When expanded, a CBF can automatically narrate dialogue, captions, and descriptions with AI-powered voice narration. Instead of static page turns, scenes transition smoothly with cinematic... Pause. I don't just want AI-powered voice narrations. I also want them to be able to actually have, because I may not want to have an AI-powered voice narration. I may want someone who can professionally narrate, you know what I'm saying, and bring those real life emotions to my story. Okay. Presentation similar to presentation software, allowing panel by panel movement, subtle animation, dynamic zooming, and optional visual effects while preserving the creator's artistic intent. Creators can embed interactive. The concept has evolved beyond a file format into a complete interactive publishing ecosystem. Here's how it could be described. Let me try this. Your concept has evolved beyond a file format into a complete interactive publishing ecosystem. Here's how it could be described as a platform vision. Adobe CBF, the Interactive Comic Publishing Network. Adobe CBF comic book format is a cloud-connected interactive publishing platform that transforms digital comics into living multimedia experiences. Every CBF functions as both a digital publication and a connected profile within the larger CBF ecosystem, allowing readers to move seamlessly between stories, creators, communities, and exclusive content. When expanded, a CBF can automatically narrate dialogue, captions, and descriptions with AI-powered voice narration. Instead of static page turns, scenes transition smoothly with cinematic presentation similar to presentation software, allowing panel-by-panel movement, subtle animation, dynamic zooming, and optional visual effects while preserving the creator's artistic intent. Right. Creators can embed interactive direct to CBF. These icons may open character biographies, world encyclopedias, merchandise, soundtracks, maps, timelines, creator... What the hell? Yeah, something went wrong. Your concept has evolved beyond a file format into a complete interactive publishing ecosystem. Here's how it could be described as a platform vision. Adobe CBF, the Interactive Comic Publishing Network. Adobe CBF comic book format is a cloud-connected interactive publishing platform that transforms digital comics into living multimedia experiences.
Every CBF functions as both a digital publication and a connected profile within the larger CBF ecosystem, allowing
Correct.
readers to move seamlessly between stories, creators, communities, and exclusive content. When expanded, a CBF can automatically narrate dialogue, captions, and descriptions with AI-powered voice narration. Instead of static page turns, scenes transition smoothly with cinematic presentation similar to presentation software, allowing panel-by-panel movement, subtle animation, dynamic zooming, and optional visual effects while preserving the creator's artistic intent. Creators can embed interactive direct to CBF. These icons may open character biographies, world encyclopedias, merchandise, soundtracks, maps, timelines, creator.
It ain't letting me play my shit. eCBF also includes an integrated AI assistant dedicated to that publication. The assistant answers questions about characters, lore, exactly plot points, hidden details, release schedules, and create information. Um, every CBF acts as a subsidiary profile to connect to the main CBF network. Purchasing a single CBF grants readers access to a connected ecosystem where they can discover additional content creators, browse free releases, purchase premium publications, follow favorite authors, receive automatic content updates, yada yada yada. The CBF network also supports creators. The CBF network also supports creator profiles, publisher pages, reader communities, achievements, recommendations, cloud synchronization, authenticated ownership, automatic revisions from verified publishers, multilingual editions, exactly, accessibility tools, and secure digital rights movement management. This transforms CBF from a document format into a next generation digital entertainment platform where comics, animations, audio, video, artificial intelligence, and social interaction coexist within a single connected ecosystem. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yep, that's right. That's correct. I see it like a mini ecosystem, right? You have the Adobe CBF. Then you have each individual user who publish content on their CBF. Through the Adobe CBF, users get access to other publicized content, paid content, and free content. This is completely changing the game. Yeah, it's changing the game because Adobe always positioned itself for the creator economy, right? But the only problem Adobe really had is that Adobe positioned itself in the creator economy. That's what it always been about. But it never had its own place to call home. So in other words, you had to get introduced to the Adobe brand, learn what it offers, do what you can do, and then you had to publish your stuff on other platforms, right? You had to get it on TV. You had to upload it to YouTube. You had to upload it to Facebook. What if you don't have to do that no more? what if we can have a reason for people to not only, what if we can have a reason for creators to not only have access to these tools, right? But, you know, also have an audience available that we can monetize 100 billion X. Everybody talking about 10X. What if we can monetize 100 billion X? You look at digital comic books right now. Let me see something real quick. You look at digital comic books right now, right? They don't have no posts. What I'm offering is a post. A post. That's what I'm offering. A post. Digital comic books ain't got no posts right now. They're dead. Not because nobody interact with them, but because there's no proof that people interact with them. The proof that is available is on a ledger. Oh, this is nice. Oh, man. The proof that is available is on a ledger. 1 second. 1 second. Right? 1 second, y'all. The proof that is available is not only on a ledger, right? But it's only privy to eyes that need to know. And then the secondary proof is what transfers from that ledger and converts to social media. But what if we can change the game entirely? What if we can create an ecosystem in the format of a file, CBF file, that automatically puts all these creators in this sphere of existence? What if I said that? What if GAM content is available, and I say, I don't want to sell individual just give me $35 a month, and you get access to all my content. Subscription. I'm talking big business. You know what I mean? I'm talking 100 billion next. You feel me? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? These people, they don't care about the little guy. They don't care about the little guy. You know, they want you to run around and take baths in the fountain in public. You know, I don't do things like this. You know what I mean? You feel me? I don't operate like that. I'm not some Yahoo running around talking about Geneva Convention. That's not me. You know what I mean? They want you to beg for things that's yours. The hell with it all. I'm a good fella. You know what I mean? I'm a good fella. You know what I mean? So I look around. What happens when the next Hunger Games decides to drop a CBF comic book? Just a little sample. $4.99, $5, $10, $3. And a billion people come fluttering and purchase that. What happens then? Huh? I tell you what happens. 100 billion X, that's what happens. Flight overseas. Champagne, caviar, linguine. You know what I mean? Linguine. Fortune favors the bold. If I learned nothing else, I learned that fortune favors the bold. You know, it's too bad. That thing minty, boy. Ooh, we're talking big business here. These people, they're not as smart. Everybody robbing Peter to pay Paul, scraping at the bottom of the barrel. I'm talking 100 billion X. You don't get to 100 billion X counting quarters. You don't have no time. Why would you stop? Think about this. Why would you stop? Waste 2 hours out of your day to count quarters when you could use them 2 hours to make another 100 million. I just don't understand. Why would you argue with people who won't exist if you don't talk to them? I don't understand. It don't make no sense to me. I tell them, what about the little guy, Frankie? What about the little guy? Some people say, what about him? But I say, what about the little guy? They say, what about him? That's when I realized they not my kind of people. A CBF. 1 second. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That looks good, don't it? That looks good. Let me go ahead and send this to myself real fast, if you don't mind. Give me 1 second. Let's see if I can. There you go. 1 second, you guys. I roll with kings. I don't run around with heathens. I remember one time I was growing up, I had this father figure. I would walk around And I wouldn't say nothing to nobody. His wife, second, third wife, or whatever she was, she said, Adrian don't talk to nobody. Why he like that? He decided to get upset. He never told her my childhood. He just got upset. One day he come to me, he says, why you gotta be that way? I said, like what? He said, you walk around like you King Tut. Years later, I find out this motherfucker ain't my father. I really got the blood of a king in me. I am who I am. You know what I mean? He knew that. You know what I mean? He knew that. I roll with kings. I don't roll with these heathens. Yeah, I shut shit down. That's what I do. I call a play. I feel any sense of stutter step. I put the motherfucker in action and use other people. I don't sit there and wait for motherfuckers to tell me what gonna work. Like I ain't been working what gonna work for the past 15, 20 years. Why would I why the fuck would I wait for your approval? I built my bones off of energy, creativity, and imagination. A little common sense. Just a little common sense. Never really had much common sense. But just energy, creativity, imagination. I built my bones. Not one time I ever used money. They have access to it. And because I didn't have access to it, I never directly used money. I use everything else except money. Creativity is like fire. By itself, it won't spread that much. But everybody's desire to be creatively satisfied is like gas. They just fuming out, waiting to be sparked. Start a revolution. Start a riot. You gotta start somewhere. But whatever you do, don't fucking stop.